So welcome one and all. This is the regular board meeting of the Board of Directors of the East Bay Regional Park District. We are meeting on June 21st, 2022, and we're beginning at 1:11. I apologize for the delay. I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Yes, President Coffey. Director Rosario.
Here.
Director Lane.
Here.
Director Wasby.
Here.
Director Eccles. Director Wieskamp.
Here.
Director Corbett. President Coffey.
Present.
General Manager Landreth.
Here.
Deputy General Manager Alvarez.
Here.
General Counsel Virgo.
Present.
AGM Cook. AGM Kelchner. AGM Chief Chiabaro. I think Lieutenant Kotcher is here in his stead.
Yes, ma'am.
AGM O'Connor.
Here.
CFO AGM Walker. AGM Johnson. That's all.
All right, we will proceed to the Pledge of Allegiance. Would Director Eccles lead us? Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, someday.
Thank you, Director Eccles. And for today's meeting, to start us off, I'm going to ask Director Rosario to do our Native American acknowledgement.
Thank you. The East Bay Regional Park District's headquarters is located within the Huichin territory on the unceded lands of the Ohlone Chochenyo speaking peoples, who have continuously lived upon this land since time immemorial. The lands now encompassed within the boundaries of the East Bay Regional Park District are the ancestral territory of the Ohlone, Bay Miwok, and Delta Yokut. Today's Ohlone, Bay Miwok, and Delta Yokut people are thriving, vital members of the Greater Bay Area community, and they remain intrinsically connected to the land they have stewarded since time immemorial. So please join us in recognizing and honoring this land, their ancestors, elders, descendants, and all other members of their communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Rosario. We are, before going to approval of our agenda and public comments, we have several special presentations this afternoon. And to start those off, we're going to hear of the awards that district and district folks received from the California Association of Recreation and Park Districts, the 2022 Carpet Awards. And who's going to lead us off into those?
That will be Lieutenant Kotcher.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
President Coffey, Board of Directors, General Manager Landreth. My name is Terrence Kotcher, I'm Police Lieutenant with Public Safety, and I am happy and honored to be here to help present these outstanding volunteer awards. The awards, as stated, are from the California Association of Recreation and Parks. In the approximately 20 years of service that each one of these individuals has had with the district, they have shown an extreme level of selflessness and dedication. Both of these men have been here, little anecdote, both of these men have been here since I began my career with the district, and I have personally learned very much from each one of them. So without further ado, please congratulate Edward, Ned McKay, and Carl LaRue.
Thank you, Ned. Thank you, Carl. You guys want to say anything? You don't have to.
Go ahead.
On behalf of all of your volunteers, Ned.
I'll say it again there. That's better, I think. Thank you very much for this award. We are honored. It's been a pleasure working for the volunteering for the Park District, and very happy about this. Thanks again.
Thanks for all you, both of you do. Okay, for the next two carpet awards, I'm going to call upon last year's president of the California Association of Rec and Park Districts, Director Waspy.
Thank you. For some of you that don't know, California Association of Recreation and Park Districts is a statewide agency that represents parks and recreation districts and advocates on their behalf. And every year at our conference, we get to honor some of the really, really great people who've done lots and lots for the industry, so to speak. At our award ceremony, not only do we honor volunteers, we honored outstanding general managers, outstanding board members, and outstanding practitioners in the field. This year's award winner for outstanding board member is our very own Ann Wieskamp. As you all know, Ann has been on the Regional Park District Board for almost 24 years, served her community for many, many years before that as a city council member and many, many other things on the Waste Management Authority, and just is an all-around person, is on LAFCO right as we speak. So it was very easy to give her this award, and we're very honored to give it to her. So Ann, thank you so much for your service and congratulations.
Thank you very much, Dennis. I appreciate it, but everybody sitting up there deserves the awards because you're all working very hard for the purpose we all agree on, making the East Bay Park District the best place in the world. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We're going to juggle here. There's three of us. We got a little act. All right. And also we award it's okay. Okay. Thank you so much. So we also award accomplishments in things like outstanding new facilities, outstanding new programs, and the Regional Park District won again for outstanding new facility for our Dumbarton Quarry Campground by the Bay. I'm preaching to the choir here. We know what a great source of pride, and this honor is another example of that. People are recognizing the Dumbarton Campground throughout the state. I know that at the Carpet Conference, people were amazed by the whole story of digging a really, really deep hole, the deepest hole in all of North America, then getting into a collaboration with private industry to fill that hole back up, and then to create an incredible park, an incredible campground, which is really, really needed on the San Francisco Bay. So on behalf of Carpet, congratulations, and on behalf of the board, thanks you guys, and thank you staff for doing a great job. Thanks.
Okay, next, the Park District received two awards, 2022 from the California Park and Recreation Society. And District 3 President Nicole Roa is here today. And I believe you're going to be introduced by Mona. Tell us a little about the society and these awards. Mona Ko.
Good afternoon. I'm Mona Ko, Community Relations Manager at the Park District. It is a great pleasure that we welcome Nicole Roa, who's the President of CPRS, California Parks and Recreation Society, District 3. The California Parks and Recreation Society is a very resounding and very active society that creates that has a lot of programming for all the parks staff and also specialists to meet every year at a big conference, and also they provide a lot of training and meetings and focus groups for all the park practitioners. And it is with great pleasure that we have received 2 awards for Dumbarton Quarry on the campground, Dumbarton Quarry Campground on the Bay, as well as outstanding award for our JEDI Impact Awards. And JEDI is Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. And we want to thank Nicole very much for taking the time to come out from a full schedule to present us these awards.
Good afternoon, Honorable Board of Directors and staff. As I was introduced, my name is Nicole Espinosa Roa, and I am CPRS District 3 President. The CPRS District 3 Annual Awards Program is designed to recognize those who assist in the critical role of facilitating and creating community, professionals, collaborative partners, and businesses, as well as outstanding facilities, parks, programs, and special events. The CPRS District 3 Annual Awards Program recognizes excellence of agencies, individuals, and professionals in the park and recreation field who demonstrate the spirit of Parks Make Life Better and the mission of Parks and Recreation. For 2021, East Bay Regional Park District received the following awards: Outstanding Park for the Quarry, and then the Outstanding JEDI Impact Award. The JEDI Impact Award was a new award for us this year, so you guys are the first initial recipients of that award, and for the amazing efforts that you've made in that, and also for the amazing park. So I'm here today to present to your board both of the awards that you guys have received.
Thank you very much. And if our audience could bear with us for a moment, we're going to have the board come down and take a picture with Nicole.
I think I'd actually like you all in front of the table. Pushing it out of the way.
Okay. So we're going to be on break for a couple of minutes. Award. And just in the interest of time, I'm not going to actually read all these names, but there were a lot of terrific people doing terrific work that resulted in these awards. And we're very pleased and appreciative of their efforts. So we are next at the approval of the agenda. Can I have a motion to approve our agenda? Oh, I have one more. I did. Thank you for cutting me off. We have one more very important special presentation, and I'm going to turn it over to our general manager.
Great. Thank you, President Coffey and members of the board. This is a very bittersweet presentation that I'm going to give. And Carol, I believe you are online here. So if you could show us. There you are. Excellent. So as I believe everybody knows here, Carol Johnson announced her retirement several months ago, and it takes effect at the end of this month. And this is her last official full board meeting here, and a little bit of a surprise for her. Carol, I have I'll show it on the camera in a second here, but we have some flowers for you. But I wanted to just take a moment, just as the general manager. Obviously, I've only known Carol for about a year. But certainly it's been so clear to me what a positive impact and lasting tenure that she is going to have here that's going to far outlast her time. Carol's 20-year career with the Park District is coming to the end, but certainly her impact is not. Carol, you were able to build up what I would say is probably the strongest brand in the public sector over the course of your career. And it really is remarkable the impact that you have had in telling our story as this park district, as this public agency. And everyone hopes that in their career, especially in the public sector, that you're going to have something that's going to be both meaningful and lasting. And you really have been able to do that in your decades here. And frankly, with your entire public sector career, even before the Park District. So I really wanted to say on behalf of the administration and myself personally, just thank you. Thank you for everything that you've done for us, for the Park District, for the community at large. And you really are going to be really sorely missed. And I am so excited for you And as you launch into this next phase of your life and next career, I think we're all waiting to see what you're going to do next, because I know there's a next. And really just want to say thank you and appreciate you. I'm sure the board probably has some things to share. And President Coffey, if you would indulge us, I know that at some of the AGMs would love to say something on the record as well. So thank you, Carol.
Thank you. So I'll look around at my colleagues and see if someone would like to go. Director Rosario.
Yeah. Carol, congratulations. You've definitely left your stamp on the Park District and on our constituents and in your illustrious, very illustrious career and building up the Regional Parks Foundation to what it is now. And you're to be congratulated, but also at the same time, you deserve some rest. And I think you'll find retirement before you go on to a next stage, but I think you'll enjoy your sense of freedom for a little bit until you find something else. So thank you so much for everything that you've done, and good luck to you in the future, good health, and good travels.
Director Lane.
Yeah, I too want to say we're going to miss you so much, Carol. And I remember before you were in charge of public affairs, how much you did to communicate between public affairs and the field. So when we would have these events, people who were in operations knew what was happening, which was a step forward for all of us. And I want to thank you for managing those dual roles of being in charge of public affairs and the Regional Parks Foundation. And I know as the foundation became increasingly active and productive, that we asked you to do 2 jobs, and you did them very well. So take care of yourself. We love you and we'll miss you.
Thank you, Director Lane. Director Wieskamp.
You know, you are a dynamic duo in one person, because you have done such a terrific job in both your big jobs. You made always everything that maybe wasn't clear to anyone, how wonderful the Park District was, our programs, our workers. You just got the message out always in a positive light. And that's not easy to do. And I am so proud of the foundation and all that you did there. The board members you went out and found who have been so terrific for us, and all of the people who've just joined to be part of the club, because that's almost what it has become. It's the right thing to belong to. And I'm going to give you a lot of credit for that. Please have fun, enjoy the flowers. And I hope that you and I and whoever else would care to get a chance to go out and have lunch together and not worry about any programs that we have to do. Just have fun. Congratulations.
Thank you, Ann. Director Corbett.
We're going to miss you, Carol. Thank you very much for all the wonderful work that you've done. And, you know, I have to say, long before I was even a member of the board, going to parks and seeing some of the amazing events that were happening, and then to be able to become a member of the board and see the impression that you had and bringing people into the parks and understanding things we could do. We weren't just about, you know, taking a hike, so many other things to let the community know that we really care about offering wonderful services and bringing people into the parks. And then when you serve as a president of the board and you get to see what the your groups do, it's a whole new thing to see the positive work that can be done to protect the services of this park district and do things to bring more and more people into our parks. So thank you, Carol. We're going to miss you, and thanks for all your great work. And come see us time to time, I hope. Thank you.
Anything else? Elizabeth? Director Eccles?
Yeah, Carol, thank you so much for all of your hard work over the years and your dedication to the Park District and to the broader East Bay community, both in the work that you've done here as well as on the all of the work that you've done over time in your public service career, really an astounding career, and really appreciate all of that service. And certainly you have earned a break from it. And really, I'm excited to see what's next for you. And I wish you really the very best in your next chapter in your life. And I also wanted to thank you on a more personal note, just how helpful you were when I first came on the board and really helping me learn about my district and learn about some of the issues in my district, and have really enjoyed all of those events that you put together in my district as well as other people's districts. So thank you for everything.
Thank you, Director Waspy.
Thank you. Congratulations, Carol. I wish you all the best. It has been a pleasure knowing you and working with you for all these many decades. You really transformed the public affairs department. I'm laughing looking when you, I don't know how how much you were into changing the brand, but you surely sold it wonderfully well. And that was the old days when the old oak leaf was inviolate, and when you changed it just a little bit, oh my God, it was a controversy. But you really did a great job, and the East Bay logo with that brand with the oak leaf has really stood the test of time, and it's a remarkable brand. Thank you for all your foundation work. You've been very generous to all of us here, and just the whole deal. The sign shop turned into, which in fact was in the old days a human being that would paint signs by hand, to the creative design group, which now they're all artists. It's like George Lucas's Industrial Light and Magic department. It's what you've done with those folks is amazing, and I truly appreciate all your efforts throughout all these years, and I wish you the best.
Thank you. My own personal note, Carol, is I guess I first afforded myself of your help and your education when I joined the Park Advisory Committee, which was just about 20 years ago. And you've been helping and educating me ever since. And I gained so much from it, and am very appreciative. I'd share with my colleagues that when the general manager and I attended the last foundation board meeting, the foundation board members were equating their loss of Carol to what it'd be like if the Warriors lost Steph Curry. And
Wow.
apropos of that parade in San Francisco yesterday, I started thinking of Carol. So we will be missing you. AGMs? Thank you, Jim.
All right. President Coffey, members of the board, Jim O'Connor, Assistant General Manager of Operations. Carol, you and I were the last of the old management team left here at the district. I am going to miss you. The thing that I would say is that on a day like today, when we are garnering awards, this is the easy stuff. This is the cream. But when there's a true controversy, when we have a media spectacle swirling about us and there's a controversy in the community, that's when you really know the mettle of people. And Carol, you have been there through so many of those things that either I have been at the center of, things like closing water slides. I think all of you remember that little episode, right, Director Wieskamp? And so Carol has always been there. And when we had those crazy times, Carol was able to pull her team together and draw up our messaging around that and manage the media. And that's when you really know the real quality and worth of people. And Carol, you've always been there. So we're going to miss you. We'll see you. Thank you.
Well, can I respond?
Just
I want to
one
say,
one more, Carol.
no, I'm sorry.
Carol, we've been through a lot together. What I always appreciate about working with you is you're such a thought partner and leader. And you will certainly be missed, but not forgotten. And I hope we get together again soon.
Thank you, Eric. Okay, Carol.
Well, the good news is that we have lunch tomorrow, Eric, so that's that's good. I want to say transitions are never easy. This one has not been. This one has not been. I have. Sorry. I have left you with an amazing, talented crew of people. And I hope that they are treated respectfully and that they too have an opportunity to have honor and dignity and integrity in what they do for as long as they stay. I'd like to say that I think the last 2 weeks has been very rewarding in some respects, in that the last 2 weeks I've had the opportunity to head up the renaming of the visitor center at Crab Cove after our wonderful Doug Seiden. And today I'm on the board agenda to give you money on behalf of the foundation, on behalf of another fantastic board member in John Sutter. Two people that I highly regard as some of the best, most caring, compassionate, and inclusive leaders, and that have ever been on this board. You all have big shoes to fill, to fill into their shoes. And so I look at my tenure with great regard. We had great fun. I did a lot of great things, but mostly I will remember the people. And I think that that is the ultimate joy, is the people that I will leave, that I feel like I've been the kind of the mother to the baby birds. They all can fly, and they can all fly really well. So I hope that you trust their judgment and that you work closely with them, and whomever takes my position will also have large shoes to fill insofar as my staff and how we've been able to make things happen. 96% of the public's interest and support did not happen lightly, and my team should be congratulated for largely that effort. So anyway, I thank you for all of your warm wishes, and I'm sorry I'm not there, but I appreciate the thoughtfulness in your commentary.
Thank you very much, Carol. We will move on to the next item on the agenda, approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to? Director Wieskamp has moved approval of the agenda. Director Rosario has seconded. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, President Coffey. Director Wasby.
Aye.
Director Lane.
Aye.
Director Rosario.
Aye.
Director Corbett. Director Eccles.
Aye.
Director Wieskamp.
Aye.
And President Coffey.
Aye. Today's meeting is being held pursuant to the Brown Act as amended by AB 361. Board members and staff may participate via phone or video conferencing. That brings us to public comments and then public comments not on the agenda. Madam Clerk, could you describe the means by which we are allowing for public comments to be submitted?
Yes, President Coffey, public comments may be submitted one of three ways. Via email to myself, Yolanda Burial Knight at yburial@ebparks.org, via voicemail at 510-544-2016. Leave a message and it will be transcribed and given to the board prior to the meeting, or simply by joining the meeting and raising your hands via the Zoom link, which is listed on the agenda posted on the district's website. In addition, the comments will not be read at the meeting, but any written emails or transcribed voice messages will be included in the final board packet. All comments, letters received before the deadline yesterday have been distributed to the board and will not be read at this meeting. I have somebody that's on mute, needs to be muted. Trying to find who that is. Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you, President Coffey.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That brings us to the next item on the agenda, which are public comments not on the agenda. We have received numerous comments on an item later on the agenda. And we will get to that after we do our consent calendar. So at this point, I'm going to ask the clerk whether we have any requests to make public comments on matters not on our agenda this afternoon.
President Coffey, we just received one email, and that gentleman, Mike Vanderman, I do not see him on here, but he did send us an email on a comment not on the agenda, and the board has received it.
I've received it and read it.
Okay, thank you.
So in that case, we will, and I'm looking around the Zoom room, I don't see any
anybody.
hands up. No? So we will move on to the consent calendar. And have we received a request for public comment on any of the matters on the consent calendar?
We have received several comments via email, and I believe I see some members of the public on the line for comments regarding the Port Chicago.
Well, that is under executive and legislative
Oh,
division.
I'm sorry.
On our,
That's it.
that's on our regular agenda,
I'm sorry.
resolution to support Senator Glazer's bill. And yes, we do have folks that want to speak on that item. How about the consent items?
Nick from the zoo is on the Zoom, and he is interested in speaking on item D.
Ah, yes.
Yes, sorry about that.
Thank you.
There you go.
Well, then, and since I see Nick, why don't we just go with that one first? Go ahead. This is the resolution to support the Oakland Zoo parcel tax measure, item D on our consent calendar.
Hi, Director Coffey and directors of the Regional Park Board and General Manager Landra. Thank you for taking this up as an item. I will be brief. Obviously, we have a deep shared friendship between the Regional Park District and the Oakland Zoo over many years, certainly shared values and the desire to improve the quality of life for all, certainly for people to be outdoors, certainly for wildlife. And so with that, I appreciate the opportunity to just share a couple of quick comments and hopefully to receive your support and endorsement for the Oakland Zoo measure that will be on the November 2022 ballot. The Oakland Zoo, as you know, has been a cornerstone in the community. In fact, we're celebrating 100 years in the city of Oakland this year, 2022. And in fact, our birthday was June 6th, 2022, founded down at 19th and Harrison. This support that I'm seeking, and certainly this investment in the zoo overall, means a tremendous amount to the city of Oakland, but certainly to the region as well. For us, through this measure, it's about seeking and trying to achieve financial stability, building resiliency into the next 100 years, certainly, and the great impact that we have, not just for animals, for kids, and the city at large. And again, many of the shared values that the Regional Park District has as well. Certainly, COVID pandemic has been tremendously difficult for us. And as we collectively, between the parks and the zoo, think about habitat loss, think about climate change, there's increasingly more work to be done. So a stable funding model will allow for the zoo to move forward into the future. Really, it's about our animal welfare and our animal care. Hopefully you saw the rescue of 2 tigers from a backyard roadside zoo in Oklahoma that recently took place last week. And then also the 19th mountain lion that we rescued from the wildfires in the last several years. So our animal welfare, our animal care, our ability to rewild out into the community, certainly the rescue around that is critical. But equally important is the educational programs, our ability to expand those programs, into the school districts, working actively with Oakland Unified School District and many others, and then increasing our accessibility. Certainly, the Park District is thinking and acting quite deeply on accessibility broadly into impacted communities. That's something that the Oakland Zoo is doing as well. So this measure would help us really advance all the work that we're doing, and certainly the support and the collaboration that the district as well as the zoo enjoy together. Collectively, we really do have one voice, and COVID pandemic helped all of us realize the importance of the outdoors, the importance of connecting with friends and family, and then certainly the education in animal care and welfare that we do. So thank you for your time and appreciate your consideration of this support as we go forward. And if I may, I will just say one thing, and I don't know if Carol Johnson is still on the line. I have the unique pleasure of serving on the Regional Park Foundation Board, recently joined in the last year. And I've known Carol for several years before that. So I just want to acknowledge Carol as well as a Regional Park Foundation board member, also as the CEO of the Oakland Zoo, where we have worked collaboratively over the years. So, and hopefully, Carol, we will also get an opportunity to have lunch as you retire and take some time off. So with that, thank you, Director Coffey, and I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you, Nick. Are there any questions or comments from the board? You know, the Park District has had a very long and productive and beneficial relationship with the Oakland Zoo. And on behalf of the board, I can tell you, Nick, that we are very pleased to be able to help with this ballot measure.
Thank you, Director Coffey.
Okay, that brings us back to the consent calendar. Are there items in the consent calendar where we need to respond to board member comments or questions?
The only questions I believe were already responded to from Director Rosario. There might be one missing.
Director Rosario?
I still need an answer for item E and I.
Item E is the resolution to support SB 926.
Yes.
Eric. SB 926.
Eric, Director Rosario has a question on SB 926, Dodd, Senator Dodd. It's on our consent calendar to support the measure addressing prescribed fire claims.
I can give you the questions.
I can.
Can, okay.
Thank you, Eric. Yeah, I mean, I'm in support of this, but I was just, $20 million is not a lot. And is this like, is going to be an annual contribution to a fund, or is it, how's it going to be funded from once it's instituted?
Eric Feeler, Chief of Government and Legislative Affairs. In fact, Dee, I agree with you. I double checked that number because it seemed low to me. But I think this is a ongoing process by the senator, because this is a follow-up from a bill he already introduced, allowing burn bosses to be exempt from liability. This adds the money to pay if a fire does get out of hand. It starts the program. So my anticipation is that he will be seeking additional funding as more and more burn bosses come on board, right? I heard this morning that there are actually only 2 in the entire state. So 20 million should cover that for this year, but for future years, I'm sure they'll be looking at more resources.
Yeah, and then does it just cover the burn boss, or does it cover the agency that burn boss is working for?
It covers damages for if the fire gets out of control and it's not deemed negligence by the burn boss or by the agency, then it would go to whoever had suffered the damages, whichever entities needed to pay for repairs.
Okay, and then my last question, you might not know this answer, but who's going to set the qualification standards for a burn boss? Is it CAL FIRE or a state fire marshal's office?
I believe that is in CAL FIRE, but that's a good question. I can get back to you.
Okay, yeah. Great, thank you.
Thank you, Eric. And Director, you had a question on matter I,
Yes.
authorization to execute a contract with the Watershed Nursery, Christina Kelchner.
And just to let you know, Lisa did respond to you.
Oh.
And she is on the call, but
I didn't see it, but.
yeah. But I don't know if you want to take it, Christina.
Sure, that's fine. I can go ahead and answer, and Lisa Gorgon is on the Zoom if
Yeah.
you have additional questions. Christina Kelchner, AGM of Acquisition Stewardship and Development. Director Rosario, your question related to plantings at from the Watershed Nursery for the Develop Doolittle Trail project. And you wanted to know, is there required maintenance of the plants after they're planted? And if so, for how long? And what's the chances of success? If I understood your question.
Yes.
Yes, the plants are required by permit. They're a mitigation requirement from the Regional Water Quality Control Board. So there is a required period of 5 years for maintenance and monitoring of those plants. There's a 3-month maintenance and warranty period for the plants. And generally, we've had very good success rates with the nursery stock from the Watershed Nursery, who's providing these plants. We've used them at Huckleberry Creek, Tilden Sediment Ponds, and the Sibley McCosker Creek restoration with good success so far.
Great. So is there, when we do with these contracts, is there a guaranteed success rate that they have to meet, or?
I believe just for the first 3 months,
Okay.
so that the plants don't arrive with the problem. But after that, it's, up to us to establish them and care for them.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Okay, and then I was interested in exactly where the plants were going. It's called the Doolittle Trail Project. Is it along the trail or?
For
on
that, I'm going to
MLK?
refer to Lisa Gorgon, Chief of Design and Construction.
Hi, good afternoon, Lisa Gorgon, Chief of Design and Construction. These plants are going to be used for mitigation in what we call the New Marsh, which is it's in an upland grass area that we're excavating out to create more, to kind of remove the fill from the bay to create more bay area. And this is a mitigation for some of the fill that we're bringing in to bring in that trail along the San Leandro Bay. I think you guys were out there at the board tour a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much for that. I was just trying to picture where they would be planted next to the trail. And
Yeah.
But we did at the board field trip, we saw where the new marsh is. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So I'm going to look around the Zoom, see if there are any other hands. Director Corbett, you're good?
Just ready to move.
Would you like to make the motion to approve the consent calendar then?
Yes, thank you. I'll make the motion to approve the consent calendar.
Is there a second? Director Lane. It's been moved and seconded. Madam Clerk?
Yes, President Coffey. Director Waspi.
Aye.
Director Lane. Director Buchanan. Director Corbett.
Aye.
Director Eccles. Director Rosario.
Aye.
And President Coffey.
Aye. So the consent calendar is approved. We're getting some feedback. Had we figured that out? All right. All right. Problem fixed quickly. That moves us to matter 2 on the regular agenda, Executive and Legislative Division A, authorization to renew the East Bay Regional Park District's insurance program for 2022 and 23. And I asked that this be on the regular agenda instead of consent because this isn't a ordinary insurance budget that we've had for the last decade. Go ahead.
Thank you, President Coffey. Good afternoon, members of the board. Alma Balmis, Risk and Safety Manager, Legal and Risk Division. So as President Coffey mentioned, we brought this to the Finance Committee on May 25th and presented there. And as you know, we've seen some significant increases over the past few years, including this year. So I'll be giving a brief overview of what we can expect. So as you know, Prism is our excess insurance carrier. Formerly, it was known as CSEC EIA. And we have our major programs with Prism for general liability, property, workers' compensation, aviation, watercraft, and cyber liability. The Park District is self-insured up to different self-insured retention amounts, but we do carry our excess through Prism when we have an excess claim. We have other coverages for crime under Alliant and a small bond with Western Surety. So a few highlights for the Park District Insurance Program. We have had a favorable claims history and have had the ability to manage claims within our self-insured retention limits. This means that the losses that we have experienced, we've been able to keep them relatively low and not tap into excess. So that has been a good thing for us to be able to control our premiums. It's just a continued hard market in general for insurance. One, due to COVID, there was a lot of unexpected factors that insurers weren't sure how it would impact public agencies or employers as a whole. We have seen a 40% estimated average increase for general liability property, and that's reflected across all of our insurance programs. In general, California, the market here is just challenging in general. It's known as litigious state. And we have seen an increase of claims and payouts due to jury verdicts across the state, as well as reinsurers who are leaving the California market just because it's difficult to insure. So for the property program, we have seen an increased catastrophic property claims nationwide from natural disasters and critical events. Wildfires increased by 300% from 2001 to 2010 compared to the most recent decade, 2011 to 2020. 8 of the 10 largest wildfires in California history happened in the last decade, and that's incredibly relevant to the Park District, covering 2 counties in our region and lots of open space and land. So that does impact part of our risk profile. The largest California earthquake placement is with Prism worldwide. It has $1.2 billion in capacity. So where we have facilities or property sitting very close or on the fault line, we have elected to opt into earthquake insurance. So those properties and facilities are covered with this $1.2 billion capacity in mind. Prism recently left the AIG market as one of the excess carriers, and Prism is now self-funding primarily at the 10 million mark. So that's also a shift for our excess. For general liability, the casualty market trends nationwide, we see that the hard market that we're currently in can last several more years. The rate increases that the Park District is seeing is consistent with other public agencies. So it's not unique to us. We are part of Prism that hosts all of, if not most, the counties, lots of cities, districts, other special districts. And so they take into account our size as well as what our self-insured retention limits are, what our loss history is and experience, and comes up with the premium based on that. As I mentioned before, there have been high jury verdict payouts and settlements involving public entities. There are underwriting concerns in general about that and other factors. Just to give you a highlight about what California is experiencing, there are less reinsurers resulting in less coverage capacity. So to give you a sense, a year ago, we had about 17 reinsurers that we considered as part of a pool that had a combined capacity for general liability at the 170 million capacity. Now we've had 7 of those reinsurers leave the California market, not insuring California entities at all. And that has resulted in a combined capacity of 65.5 million. Some quick highlights for other coverages. Cyber liability premium increased due to ransomware malware attacks over the last 2 years. We know that, public agencies tend to not invest as much as private entities. And so that is a factor in the slight increase we see there. The aviation policy includes both our Eagle 7 and 8 helicopters for public safety, and that's at 50 million. And our workers' compensation premium increase is also consistent what we see across all public agencies. Alliant for which hosts our crime policy, and Western Surety are pretty flat and no change there. So this chart basically sketches out what we see to be an aggregate of 40% increase across all insurance policies. Most notably, you see general liability has increased by 56, 57%, properties at 30%, workers' compensation is 40%, and so forth. Cyber liability, it's a $13,000 increase that we expect, which is 75%. Last year, we had a 36% increase that we anticipated, and then the year before that, we had a 26% increase. So as you can see, it's trending upward. It's not too different from last year, considering 36%, but it is still significant. The benefit of a larger pool is we do have that cushion, and we do have that protection and the ability to absorb any loss, and the confidence rate to be able to cover those losses. So that's part of the benefit of being part of a large pool. I will say that these are an up to amount for what we see for the change amount. And when we do get our actual premium invoice, it's about $200,000 less than what we anticipate. So we can expect the same for this year, that the 1 million change amount might really be about 800,000. So looking forward for the state of the insurance market, what we used to really analyze is the frequency, how often something happens, or severity. You get the one big thing, and then we cover it, we get through that loss and move forward. Now we're really looking at the frequency of severity. Things are happening much more often at a higher impact. And so we're continuing to kind of keep pulse on that. Risk will continue to evaluate Park District programs and losses, and really talk about prevention and implementing prevention as a way to get in front of losses. And I mentioned this at the Finance Committee to President Coffey and other members of the board, that we are looking into CAPRI, which is the California Parks and Rec Indemnity Association, that really specifically looks at and insures park districts and similar organizations. So that's what we plan to do ahead of 22-23. At the end of the day, our goal is to provide coverage at the most reasonable cost to protect the park district's assets and any liabilities. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions? Director Waspy?
Yeah, thank you for your report. It's a little disheartening, but so I was wondering, how many clients does Prism have right now?
That's a good question. I think we have for Prism roughly maybe 80 or 90. I know there was 10 new members this past year that have left other pools, and they were seeing about a 20 to 75% cost savings by joining Prism. So that does factor into our analysis in determining whether we might want to seek another pool, or are we okay where we are? But we do see they do insure most of the California counties, lots of cities, school districts, and other special districts as well.
Oh, okay. So I just assumed we would be one of the largest agencies, but we're not, right? If we're talking
We're not.
counties and big cities. Okay.
There's much bigger ones, but I would say our area that we cover is quite expansive and large compared to other special districts or school districts, where we're probably in size comparable to even some cities.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Director Rosario?
Yeah, thank you for this very thought-provoking topic. But what does the cybersecurity insurance cover? Like if an entity was got locked out and had paid, do they pay the ransom, or?
No, that would be nice. That would be nice. It covers primarily data breaches. So a lot of personal identifying information, or where we exchange information through and any entity that's public facing that can breach and impact, either client data or our data. it covers that mostly. So when we work with David Rusting, we'll think about ways that we can implement, preventative measures to make sure that we're not exposing ourselves to any breaches like that.
Yeah. And then I'm sure you don't have an answer, but it's just interesting to me that these insurance companies are leaving California. Where are they going? Because the whole Southwest is fire prone. And then if you go east of the Mississippi, it's going to be flood prone. And it's like, where are they going to make their money? So it's very interesting.
It's interesting. It's right. Pick your poison. Everyone always says, oh, I would hate to live in California. They have earthquakes and fires, and you go to the South. Do you want a tornado? So it's really challenging.
Yeah.
And so I think what's been most challenging is just inflation in general. The cost to rebuild is extremely costly right now. And then there's the whole supply chain demand and issues with that. So things are just taking much more cost and time to rebuild. And they may have the same issue somewhere else, but yeah, we're seeing a lot of kind of like a mass exodus of some of the reinsurers leaving California.
Yeah, the biggest concern is as you get smaller pool of insurers, the price is going to go up.
Right. And I think that's where we're seeing some of that impact in our costs right now.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Director Corbett.
Thank you. Just a quick question about the cyber liability issue. What sort of, issues or problems are we looking at with that increase in estimated amount?
Thanks, Director Corbett. We don't have any significant claims or breaches that the Park District has experienced, thankfully, but we do see that as a cost increase just to the premium overall, and how much that costs to cover maybe some other losses that may have occurred in the pool. And that impacts what we see when they try to do an equitable distribution of premium costs across the members of the pool. So thankfully, we don't have anything. I'll defer to IIS in terms of what we've had of any losses, but none that I know of that impact that directly. Yeah, Deborah's confirming that we don't have any.
Okay, well, that's good to know. But also, how about with regard to property issues? That's also increased a bit.
Property has increased a bit. We have had most recently last year, we've had the collapse of the historical part of the Miller Knox Pier. Last year, January, we had a huge piece of that broke off and floated nearby shipping lanes. So we had an emergency contract to have that removed.
Mm-hmm.
That was thankfully covered by our insurance. Another piece of that pier broke off in August, I believe. And so that came out of our own pocket. So we haven't had, and then prior to that, I think most recently we had the Vasco fire. So we were able to have that covered as well. We haven't had anything major catastrophically. We were able to tap into the business claim as part of general liability for the pandemic and some of the business interruption that we had to our recreational services and revenues that we would have normally collected during 2020, 2021. But otherwise, property, we're just seeing the increase in the cost of doing business and construction and supply chain challenges.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other board comment or questions? Seeing none, do we have any public comment?
No, we do not have any public comment on this topic.
All right, then thank you for the presentation. I believe we're ready for a vote to approve the resolution on page 158. Is there a motion to approve the resolution? Director Rosario.
So moved.
And a second?
Director Waspy.
Director Waspy. Please call the roll.
Yes. Director Lane.
Aye.
Director Wieskamp. Director Wieskamp. Aye. Okay, she's on mute. I see. Director Corbett.
Aye.
Director Eccles.
Aye.
Director Rosario.
Aye.
And President Coffey.
Aye.
Unanimously approved.
Okay, the resolution passes.
Mhm.
Item 2B, resolution to support SJR 15 by Senator Glazier, Port Chicago 50 exoneration. Eric Feeler.
Yeah, hi, Eric Feeler, Chief of Government and Legislative Affairs. And I'm honored to be speaking to this item today. While the timing of exoneration is long overdue, the timing for this discussion is very appropriate. We just received the CPRS award earlier today on our JEDI efforts. And yesterday, the State Assembly passed on Juneteenth, passed this resolution that we're considering by a vote of 72-0. So it's now passed both the Assembly and Senate with unanimous votes. And it is also in alignment with the board's resolution on denouncing racism that we adopted in 2020. What the Glazer resolution does is it calls on the president and Congress to act on exoneration. It also specifically mentions the Park District and the land transfer, and also our efforts to have a visitor center to tell the history of the Port Chicago 50. And it's a supporting document for Representative DeSaulniers' effort to include exoneration in the defense authorization bill this year. And toward that end, it was in last year, and then the Senate pulled it out. So our general manager has written to our two senators to urge their support. And we continue to work with Representative DeSaulniers' office on efforts to work with the Senate. I know he has a meeting coming up with Senator Padilla soon, and we're also continuing internally to pursue other strategies on exoneration. So with that, I would like to offer for comment. I believe there's some public comment, and if there's any other questions about the resolution itself, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, I'd like to have the board given the opportunity to ask you questions, and then we will go to public comment. So are there board member questions of Eric? Okay, seeing none, we will move to public comment. We got quite a few letters and emails in support. And I see that there are several people that were authors of those letters or emails present. Do you want to handle public comment, Madam Clerk? Please raise your hand.
I'm sorry, right now I see two members of the public that want to comment. That's Louis Thrower and Yuli Padmore. I don't know the other names, but if you are interested in commenting, please raise your hand.
See Annie Snyder.
Okay.
So why don't we proceed with those three?
Yes, sir. I'm going to start with Louis. Louis, you have Louis Thrower. You have 3 minutes, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Board of Directors. My name is Louis Thrower, board members with Citizens for Historical Equity. Our organization supports the East Bay Regional Park District's resolution to support SJR 15 to urge the President of the United States and Congress to restore, honor, and bring justice to Port Chicago 50 through full exoneration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Louis.
Thank you, Louis. Our next speaker is Yuli Padmore.
Hi, Yuli Padmore, co-founder of the Black Employee Collective. And on behalf of the Black Employee Collective, I would like to express our support for Senator Steve Glazer's bill, SJR 15, urging the President of the United States and Congress to exonerate the Port Chicago 50. We're extremely grateful to work for the Park District and for recognizing this bill and continuing this effort toward justice, equity, diversity, accessibility, and inclusion. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
And
Yuli.
Annie Snyder.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm just the average citizen who went on one of your amazing hikes of celebration and reflection the other day, led by Ashley Adams, and learned about the future of your Thurgood Marshall Regional Park and about the Chicago 50. And so I just wanted to take the time to show up to implore you to support the Senate bill and do what we can to get these gentlemen fully exonerated. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, President Coffey. I don't see, let me see who this is coming into the meeting. I don't see any other speakers, hands raised.
We got a very comprehensive and well-written letter from the Port Chicago Task Force of the Contra Costa County Bar Association, and wanted to acknowledge that letter and thank them for their work on the topic and their ongoing work on the topic. I don't see any of the signatories here. Again, raise your hand if you're here to speak. We also got a letter from the East Contra Costa NAACP and the West Contra Costa NAACP. And I was asked to read a portion, I believe, of Reverend Diana McDaniel's letter to us representing the Friends of Port Chicago. She is their board president. And she writes, "Thank you to the EBRPD for bringing the proposed resolution in support of SJR 15, Port Chicago 50 exoneration to your board of directors for support. The Friends of Port Chicago National Memorial are in full support of the Port Chicago 50 being exonerated. As you may be aware, we have been working in this regard for many years and are hopeful that this resolution will move forward. Our stance is that there was never any mutiny, only a work stoppage." And then there were about 16 other similarly supportive emails from individuals.
Yes, there were.
Any other comments, or I'll turn it to board members for your own comments? Director Rosario?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that, yes, this justice is well overdue, but I just thought it was quite remarkable that we have quite gratifying to see that the Senate voted 33-0. And I hope we can get this done. So thank you.
Other comments? Director Lane?
Yeah, I just want to say how much I appreciate the support from various groups and people, because as we pursue putting this visitor center together, as well as working on exoneration, we really need to have people stay in it for the long haul. So thank you very much.
And Eric, thank you for all the work you've put into this, both the effort itself and this specific resolution. And I believe you worked with Senator Glazer's staff on his legislation, and we all very much appreciate that work.
I just, yeah,
Before we vote?
you didn't see me over here, but I
Right.
just wanted to also say how strongly I support this resolution. And I think it's the least we can do to continue to press forward this issue and try to achieve long overdue justice for these men.
Okay, we have the resolution supporting Senator Glazer's measure. It's on page 160. Is there a motion to approve the resolution? Director
Second.
Lane and Director Corbett seconds. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, President Coffey, Director Wasby,
Aye.
Director Lane,
Aye.
Director Wieskamp,
Aye.
Director Corbett,
Aye.
Director Eccles,
Aye.
Director Rosario,
Aye.
and President Coffey.
Aye. Thanks again to all of members of our public who have communicated with us on this item. That moves us to item 3A, a public hearing, approval of engineers report for fiscal year 22-23, adopt resolution confirming diagram and assessment, order maintenance improvements, and levy the annual assessment for East Contra Costa County landscaping and lighting assessment. Deborah Ocker.
Good afternoon, President Coffey and members of the board. I'm Deborah Ocker, the Assistant General Manager of Finance and Management Services. And I'm joined by Jeff Rasmussen, our Assistant Finance Officer. We have a two-part presentation. Today, first, I'm going to present on the revenue authorization for the Lighting and Landscaping District in East Contra Costa County. And then Jeff is going to present some of the projects that have been recently completed or in process in that area of the district. So I will share my screen and walk you through our tax levy. Let's see here. There we go. All right, so today, as I mentioned, we have the third step of the three-part annual process that we take to the board related to this tax levy for East Contra Costa County. As you recall, the Park District at the beginning did not include this boundary of East Contra Costa County within our jurisdiction, and it was annexed in 1981. And when it was annexed, there was no property tax benefit provided with it. That means this area does not receive part of the 1% property tax that we get in our other areas within the district. There were many houses being built out in that area in the late 80s, and the citizens said that they would like more service. So there was a citizens task force that was convened and helped to determine that a lighting and landscaping district would be of benefit to the taxpayers there. Around the same time in the late, in 1988, the voters did approve Measure AA for our capital finance bond, and that did include this area in East Contra Costa County. So we came up with the idea that that we would go to the voters, and a lighting and landscaping district was the best mechanism at that time. And we developed these boundaries here that are the same as the Liberty Union High School District, which was the part that had been annexed. And that includes several of our now parks that have been acquired. And so when you use the lighting and landscaping district special assessment, these are for a very broad list of benefits that include lots of repairs, maintenance, landscaping, fuels management, utilities, and operating cost of the area. So the majority of our budget is for covering our staff. There are many park staff that are coded to this funding source. About 12 positions are partially coded for almost 5 FTEs throughout these different park areas that support East Contra Costa County. There are also some projects that are funded and some capital outlay that are funded with this tax levy. So you can see here that over the years, the assessment does grow based on the number of units in this jurisdiction. So as they build new houses, we are assessing $19.70 per parcel, which has been unchanged from when we first approved that. And so now we're up to just over $800,000 for the tax levy. That's really just a portion of the actual true cost that we are spending for operations in this area. Our total operating cost is over $3 million. So the general fund is supporting that. And then there are other funding sources that come into this area. So as I mentioned, this is a 3-step process. On March 15th, the board approved a resolution initiating proceedings. This is all in accordance with the government code. And then on May 17th, you approved the draft engineer's report, which is attached to in your packet that set the public hearing for today. Today, we'll be conducting a public hearing. And we have received no protests on this special assessment. And then you'll be asked to adopt 2 resolutions to set the levy. So that's our actions for today. But before we ask you to approve the resolution, I'd like to turn it over to Jeff Rasmussen, and he can just highlight some of the work that's been done out in East County. So go
Good
ahead.
afternoon. Yes, this is Jeff Rasmussen, Assistant Finance Officer, and it's my pleasure to share our projects that are happening in East County, not only just in the assessment zone, but throughout East County. So, but this project here is our grazing improvements in East County. This has been funded by the assessment district over $250,000 over the last number of years. And as we continue buying more land in East County, this is a really valuable and important project to keep parks safe and moving forward, as like I said, as we acquire all this land in East County. And we'll be looking to ask the board in the 2023 budget to appropriate more East County funds towards this effort. Next. Another great project is renovation of the Black Diamond, the Arata barn at the entrance to Black Diamond. This project cost approximately $550,000. It was funded with our MER, our 553 program, but architecturally accurate and beautifully completed work. Next, please. This is a pond you can actually see on the way to Contra Loma as you're entering the park. It's on your right. This is Los Charros Pond, and this is a FEMA project. It was completed last year, and for about $60,000 was the cost of that project. Thanks. This is another pond completed by FEMA. This is a little harder to see. It's up at Chaparral Springs property on Marsh Creek Road. You can't really see the repair or restoration. The pond was blown out, but I took this picture just a few months ago, and I know it's been a relatively high drought year, but the pond did receive enough water. So it's just even a few weeks ago, great to see that the pond was full, and that this pond cost about $50,000 of FEMA funds to complete. Next. Another great project out in East County is the Orwood Bridge out near our Delta Access property. Caltrans was replacing the bridge, but we had to provide the trail connections on both sides of it, and really gorgeous area. I hadn't really spent much time out there, but really gorgeous area with wonderful Delta access and a really beautiful project in East County. This cost us, it looks like about $125,000 for our part. I don't know how much it cost Caltrans, but I'm sure it was quite expensive. Next. Another great project. We continue to work with operations, the Mass Department, on installing a CXT vault restrooms throughout the Park District. And this project to complete 2 different restroom sets out at Black Diamond was completed last year. We have one here near the parking lot. You can see, and there's one also up in the main picnic area. And the installation of both those restrooms costs approximately $300,000 of our MER funds, our 553 renovation funds for that. Another great park in the Park District is Byron Vernal Pools. We're in the far eastern part of the Park District. And this is the Pew acquisition, about $960,000, mostly funded entirely by the HCP, with $123,000 or so coming from WW, but really great acquisition and all that continue out in East County. Next. Contra Loma, this is one small picture of the south dock, or the Channel Island parking lot dock. This is the ADA dock out at Contra Loma. This is one small part of the work that's been going on at Contra Loma for the last number of years to improve all the docks and fishing facilities out there. The boat launch was completed a number of years ago, but as part of this particular project, we have this dock here, the south dock. The north dock across the lake is also part of that project, and that's been completed. And then the final piece that's in progress right now is reconfiguring the ADA access out to this spot. Is very challenging to do that and put the restroom in a safe location that's approved by county health, and as well as the water district. So this particular project of docks is about and ADA is a $1.3 million effort funded by our MER 553 program, as well as grants from the Bureau of Reclamation and Wildlife Conservation Board. So really outstanding effort, been going on for a long time out at Contra Loma. Next. This is the Vasco Caves residence. This residence is required for the Park District to maintain. It's a security residence to oversee and protect the Native American resources out of Vasco Caves. Coincidentally, I helped install in the early 2000s a trailer out in this location, and it would look real pretty at the time. But being a trailer and with the harsh environment and all the critters and snakes and these kinds of things, was in need of a renovation. So this project was recently completed out there. It cost approximately $450,000 again of our MER funds, but now much more safe and appropriate residence for place for our securities out there. And then finally, we have this another FEMA project. This is the installation of a ford crossing of an oil canyon trail deep within Black Diamond Mines, and this project cost about $75,000. And so with that, I'll turn it back over to Deborah.
Thank you, Jeff. I think it's important for the board to understand that we have the regular operating costs, but then there are all these projects that are also going on out within the boundary and, as he mentioned, outside of the boundary that we're using other people's money and our own funds for. So with all of that, we're happy to answer any questions, but if Director Coffey could open the public hearing to see if there are any comments, that would be our next step before we approve the resolutions. Thank you.
Okay, well, we'll open the public hearing and seek any comments from the public. Any requests for comment?
We do not have any public comments or any requests for public comments.
Okay, I do not see any hands raised on the Zoom room. So can we now shift to board questions or comments? And this reminds me that ordinarily this meeting today would be taking place at the Big Break Visitor Center, and Jeff would be presenting to a group of locals that attend that meeting. So again, a downside of the pandemic has been putting that meeting off now, what, third year, second year, which is unfortunate. Anyway, we'll look around to my colleagues. Director Rosario.
Yeah, thank you. When the Proposition 218 was passed in '96, how come the language to have adjustments, annual adjustments due for inflation was not included?
I can't speak to that. It likely had to do with voter polls of what was going to pass and what was not going to pass, right? The lighting and landscaping districts historically had been approved by boards. And then with Prop 218, it was now deemed a tax that needed voter approval. So there was no inflationary increase in the original approval by the board. And so it stayed the same when it went to the voters with 218.
And so in order to increase this amount, we'd have to go to an election?
Correct.
And is that 2/3 or 50 or 55%?
I believe 2/3 is for the special assessment.
Okay. Thank you.
Director Corbett.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I just have a curiosity question. I know you let us know this before, but on the residential building in the Vasco area that you showed us, is that power, what sort of power, energy, takes care of that building? Is that?
Jeff Rasmussen, can you respond to the type of energy that is generated there at the Vasco residence?
Yes, Jeff Rasmussen, Assistant Finance Officer again. Yeah, this is one of actually the few residents of the Park District that's completely off the grid with trucked in water and solar and battery power for that residence. Just of note, it's a rather complex process in doing that. So not only do you have to have solar power, but you have to have battery backup. And I should mention, but ultimately too, because of differences in solar availability, wintertime stuff, it also has a propane generator. So it's really hard to do any residence exclusively on solar and battery. So this has both of that as well as a propane generator.
Yeah, I very much appreciate you giving us the opportunity of learning that special need there, because it just definitely shows that we use great, not really new, but newer energy opportunities to keep some people living in that area. But just to show that we're very much involved in all kinds of different ways to do things.
And thanks for bringing it up. And I'd like to recognize our maintenance and skilled trades department, because it does take a lot of staff expertise as well as maintenance to maintain, install, maintain, and operate that system.
It's a great experience. We should be filing for some awards for the work we're doing there. It is special. Thank you.
Any other board comments? Director Lang.
Yeah, I really appreciate you're including a list of the some of the projects that were supported by this Lighting and Landscape District funds. Of course, not all of it. And I couldn't help but notice there were a few anniversaries here. First approved it for 2022. For 1992 was the first time we established this. And then Big Break, the visitor center, is now 10 years old, which was a part of this. And, when we point out how many improvements are made within this area, which is a big chunk of East County, we are also beginning to expand our projects there, such as Delta Access and the Deer Valley Regional Park, and adding to Round Valley. So I would like to suggest that we need to begin to really, as we talk perhaps to our next public affairs director, that we need to provide some special attention to this area to make sure that the voters there do understand how many facilities we do make available to them, and not all of them are necessarily supported by this. For instance, Morgan Territory, which is access out of Round Valley, has just a small chunk inside Liberty Union High School, Liberty Union District. So I want to say again how important it is for us to figure out some ways to communicate what the Park District is offering to East County.
That's a very good point, Director Lane.
Anything further? All right, look around the Zoom room again. So with that, we can bring to a close the public hearing.
Thank you.
And I would ask for a motion to approve the first resolution, which is on page 166. And we'll do that first. Director Waspy moves. Second, Director Lane. Please call the roll, Madam
Yes,
Clerk.
President Coffey. Director Wieskamp.
Aye.
Director Corbett.
Aye.
Director Eccles.
Aye.
Director Rosario.
Aye.
Director Lane.
Aye.
Director Waspy.
Aye.
And President Coffey.
Aye. We'll now take up the resolution on page 168 of our packet, which overrides any protests we might receive, and we haven't received any.
Adopt resolution regarding protests.
Right.
Mhm.
Motion, Director Lane moves,
Second.
Director Waspy second.
Yes, Director Wieskamp.
Aye.
Director Corbett.
Aye.
Director Eccles. Director Eccles.
Aye.
Director Rosario.
Aye.
President, Director Waspy.
Aye.
And President Coffey.
Aye. Thank you.
Mhm.
Both resolutions are approved.
I say aye.
Director Lane, oh, didn't I call you? Sorry.
Okay, thank you very much, Deborah Ocker. Oh, you're staying there, which means you must be presenting on the next item, item 3B, authorization to accept and appropriate a Regional Parks Foundation gift of $1 million for the renovation of Roberts Pool.
Thank
Deborah?
you. Thank you, Director Coffey. Deborah Ocker, Assistant General Manager of Finance and Management Services. I'm really just co-presenting with Carol Johnson, our AGM of Public Affairs. So I'm going to have Carol get us started, and then I have a few slides that I'll show after she makes her comments. Carol.
Thanks, Deborah. Board members, this is my last action as the Executive Director of the Regional Parks Foundation. And I'm really pleased to be able to make it to provide $1 million toward the assistance to construct and upgrade the Roberts Pool at Roberts Regional Park. This grant was bequeathed, I'm not sure what the wording is there, by a person that I felt very dear to my heart that I mentioned earlier, John Sutter. You all know John, you know his wife. John has been a tremendous, pardon me, supporter of the Regional Parks Foundation over the many years that I've been involved with it. In fact, he provided $2 million just 3 years ago to assist in the Crowley property construction along the Oakland shoreline. And I believe that project is in the capital improvement program. Today is the $1 million that we did not expect that he bequeathed to the foundation upon his death. And his children were consulted as he desired to find out what their interests were in the use of this $1 million. And the only caveat was that it had to be used within the city of Oakland proper, because of course that was John's love. And he and Ellie, his wife, had a life together there for many, many, many decades. So it is with pride that I'm able to do this today. And I'm very excited that the Roberts Pool will receive this gift. The daughters were very excited about having this money go towards something that was very inspirational and important to them in their lives as kids, as well as to their kids as they have grown older with their own children. So that's what I'd like to do on behalf of the foundation, to donate the $1 million to the Park District. Go ahead, Deborah.
Thank you, Carol.
Thank you, Carol.
I will, let's see, share my screen, and I have a few slides about the project. This is an extraordinary gift. And as the CFO of the Park District, I am so thankful for the foundation. Here is a rendering of what the pool, the redesigned pool, will hope to look like. We have, let me see if I can move this screen forward. I have a few more slides. So as Carol mentioned, we have the generous gift of $1 million from the Sutters, and coordinated through the Park District. Here's a photo of the original Roberts Pool. You can see the difference between the before and after. So that's pretty extraordinary. The location, as we mentioned, is at Roberts Regional Recreation Area in Ward 2 in the city of Oakland. And we are just requesting your authorization to accept this gift and appropriate it to the project that already exists for Renovate Roberts Pool. As you recall, we had the board authorize the construction contract in December so that we could get started and get this project moving. We're also using grant funds for this project. And the cost was originally set at about $11 million. However, unexpected costs due to the permitting process came up. There was an increase in requirements for infrastructure and to hook up to the sanitary sewer system, which was not part of the original project cost, but is required by the permits through Alameda County and the city. So this will allow for us to continue and complete this project, hopefully on time. So that is, they're already out there working on it. So thank you.
Thank you. Board questions? Director Rosario.
Not really a question, but I just wanted to thank the Sutter family and John, of course, posthumously, but his daughters. Thank them for their incredible gift to the Park District. And John's legacy continues and will continue for a very, very long time. He's left us with so much, and I can't say enough about how I feel in gratitude for that gift and his legacy. So thank you very much. Thank you, Carol. Thank you to the Regional Parks Foundation too. Thank you.
Absolutely. Director Corbett.
I would just like to add a little bit to what Director Rosario said. You know, for those of us who grew up in Oakland and had the opportunity to see all the amazing things that you know, he was so involved in, you know, the work with the Park District is one thing, but his work in the courts and his work in being concerned about how freeways are built and the traffic and the noise in neighborhoods. And I mean, I could give you a list of 1,000 things, I think, but it's just so nice to be able to once again thank and recognize the amazing work and how he's been so he's sacrificed so much for the best for this entire region. So we thank him and his family in supporting the Oakland area and all of the areas of Alameda County surrounding that are impacted by the work that he's done. So it's so nice to be able to talk about this today.
Thank you. Director Waspy.
Just much gratitude to John and Ellie.
Can't add to that. All right, if there's no other board comment, or I'll look around the Zoom room for public comment.
No, President Cook.
No requests. So I'm guessing Director Rosario would like to make a motion to approve the resolution on page 183.
Thank you very much.
Director Rosario moves. Is there a second? Director Waspy seconds. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Yes, President Coffey. Director Lane.
Aye.
Director Wieskamp.
Aye.
Director Corbett.
Aye.
Director Eccles.
Aye.
Director Rosario.
Aye.
Director Waspy.
Aye.
And President Coffey.
Aye. So the next item, we'll move to Public Safety Division. Item A, authorization to award climate change impact hazardous wildland fuels reduction project to Falk Forestry Group. Chief Tiley.
Board of Directors. Says microphone on.
Wow, nobody's ever accused me of being quiet. Again, Eileen Tiley, Fire Chief of the Park District. And today we're here to ask for the authorization to award climate change impact hazardous wildland fuels reduction project. It's a mouthful. To Falk Forestry Group, and here to present this to you is Kari Haley, our Assistant Fire Chief, and then Captain Patrick McIntyre.
Good afternoon, Honorable Board of Directors. As we face the challenges of climate change and tree mortality on Park District land, additionally with the challenges of reducing wildland fuels on Park District land, one of the things that we're dealing with is our tree mortality issue. We know that the challenge of tree mortality is not just a local Park District challenge. It's not just a regional challenge. It's a statewide challenge that we have where trees are dying back throughout the state of California. These challenges are costly. And they also come with challenges of how we process the biomass that we're going to produce once we start treating hundreds of acres of Park District land and thinning trees. We know that just in Anthony Chabot alone, we have about 1,200 acres of trees that have been affected by climate change that are dying back. That's a significant amount of trees. The challenge of treating 1,200 acres is the traditional methods of biomass and how we process that biomass. Normally, we deal with sending biomass to cogen facilities. The nearest cogen facility for us is in Woodland, which is 100 miles away. That's an average of an hour and a half of drive time. There's a huge cost affiliated with that drive time. We're all dealing with inflation. We're also dealing with global challenges that are causing fuel costs to currently be expensive. And we believe that fuel costs within the duration of our project will continue to be higher. We also have the environmental challenges of the trucking to a facility in Woodland, which is an hour and a half away. That's a lot of CO2 that we would be producing, putting in the air, and potentially contributing to climate change, which is exactly what is causing our trees to die back. So we in the fire department are trying to look for innovative ideas so we can do practices that are different, that don't contribute to climate change and put additional carbon in the air. Lastly, on that issue, there's the safety aspect when you're trucking 1,200 acres of biomass that we have treated and sending those trucks to cogen facilities in Sacramento Woodland area. That's a lot of semi trucks that we would be potentially putting on our back roads. This particular project, the back roads are the back roads of Anthony Chabot. We know that that road is traveled by Park District constituents who are trying to recreate in our parkland. It's also traveled by cyclists and motorcyclists, or just people in general that are using that back road to travel. We ideally don't want to contribute additional trucking on that back road through our fuels management projects. So we're always seeking different ways so we can offset those trucks and find a way to process biomass on site. Leading in an innovative approach to biomass processing. That's what we're here to talk about and present to you. In our past presentation, we talked about many different methods of innovative ideas of processing biomass. We mentioned devices like the curtain burner. We talked about a gasifier. We're now here to talk about the carbonator. Carbonator is a device that will take biomass and produce biochar. Biochar has many different benefits. Besides the ability of processing the biomass on site, it has the ability to sequester carbon. It also has the ability to help soil health. The picture that you see on your slide is showing the bottom left corner, or I should say the bottom right corner. The area that's greener is area that was used with biochar. And as you can see, that area that was grown with biochar, or that wheat, is a lot greener and healthier than the area that was grown without biochar. The Anthony Chabot pilot project. This is the beginning of a 580 acre treatment, and we're starting with the first 80 acres. This project, once it starts, will be the largest fuels management project that we've taken on. The test pilot of the use of the carbonator. The carbonator has never been used on public land in Northern California. This will be the first that the carbonator has been used on public land for a fuels management project. Being the first and leading in new innovative ideas comes with its challenges. Some of the challenges have to do with permitting for regulatory agencies, permits that will be needing to be worked out. The current permitting process is currently limited, and we believe by leading with this project and working with the Air Quality Board, we have the ability to make those regulations fit the type of equipment that we'll be using, and that'll benefit the district with future projects, and it'll also benefit other agencies who want to do the same. Also, with the pilot project, we are requesting authorization for a biomass utilization report. This is really exciting. This study We will be having Folk Forestry contact different district departments. They'll be working and interviewing the different park district workers to find out other utilization for biochar on park district land. We currently know that biochar can be used in certain areas, but there's certain things that we currently aren't aware of. And the biochar utilization report will give us information about other areas that we're not currently aware of. Ideally, the goal is to be able to use biochar on park district land so that when we process biomass on our projects, we don't have to truck biomass to cogen facilities. Not only can we offset carbon, but we can also make our projects safer, and by leading in this way, combat climate change. Next, I'm going to introduce Captain Patrick McIntyre. Captain Patrick McIntyre, he supervises the fuels reduction coordinators, who are the ones that will be coordinating this project. Captain.
Yes, hello. It is my pleasure to be able to be here to speak to this project that we've put quite a lot of effort into, and it is very exciting, to be honest, to be here at this moment to be able to share some of the details regarding this project with you all. So as you all know, the fuels team has been working diligently on this since it was first presented. So of the over 1,200 acres identified that Kari mentioned, the chief mentioned previously, you can see on the map that area that's in purple along with the area that's in yellow, that is the overall 500 acres, 580 acres that we've been able to scale back the project size to based upon the 12 highly qualified firms that bid on the project and actually were able to give us a realistic idea of how much treatment of this scale actually costs. So we've identified 500 acres, 580 acres altogether. And then in the yellow, the 80 acres is the actual pilot project that we're speaking to today. So all the areas, or all of the 80 acres, fall within recommended treatment areas that are already identified for treatment for wildfire hazard fuels reduction underneath our WRMP, so within our wildfire hazard resource reduction management plan. And these areas will be treated in consistent manners, consistent with the recommendations and guidelines that exist already within our fuels management plan. We have chosen Folk Forestry, who was previously mentioned, who is in partnership with Scent Forestry, as well as with Earth Boundaries, for this project based on a very thorough proposal, their experience in large-scale fuels management, in the operation of a carbonator on previous projects. The project area is best described as a decadent and overstocked 100-year-old eucalyptus plantation-like forest with very high fire risk and a certain hazardous level for extreme fire behavior and really difficulty to control a fire in that area, should a fire get in that area. The pilot project is also a very good representation at 80 acres of the greater 1,200 acres that we've identified within Anthony Chabot for treatment. It provides the different complexities associated with large scale eucalyptus treatments, forest management, and raises some of the difficulties that come with implementing projects of that scale and size, and to do it within a manner that is consistent with previous methodologies and our current practices. So this project in Anthony Chabot as a pilot has been broken off to achieve multiple different goals, some of which are to thin and treat our highest priority areas and reduce the risk of catastrophic fire, and as well to tie into areas that have been previously treated through our fuels management plan. And in addition, some of these areas have yet to have funding or received any previous treatment. So they're basically very good examples of going into a completely unmanaged stand that is experiencing all the issues from climate change, overstocking, no previous management, and as well as the recent drought and tree mortality that we've experienced. Some of the areas highlighted in that treatment area are some of the worst that we've seen in the Park District as far as eucalyptus. There are some of the areas that we're able to get some of our cooperators and collaborators out to look at in order to try and get an idea what was going on and what is going on as far as tree health. And the treatments are in line with their recommendations. Another, main goal is to improve the overall forest health and resilience to future fires and the impacts of climate change, and show that we can do that through good management practices. We're also looking to identify any unforeseen issues and gain any additional knowledge to false methodologies, their implementation methods, and to see what their capabilities are, because ultimately we will be looking to award additional acreage to a later date for the additional 580 acres complete. This is just for the 80. And additionally, we really do want to utilize a novel approach. When we solicited these proposals for this project, we really were very clear that we were looking for novel approaches that would help to mitigate and ameliorate the impacts of climate change. And the approach for use of a carbonator definitely met our goals. And the proposal really did meet all of the different criteria that we set forward. We'd also like to see about a demonstration of the end use of the material. There's going to be, just from the pilot project alone, about 600 tons of biochar created from best estimates based on the biomass that will need to be processed. We need to know what to do with that material. So this utilization report will be very helpful for us. We do believe that there is good uses throughout the Park District and in local communities and region wide, but we really want to be able to sequester the carbon and do it in a responsible manner and utilize this resource that we can now have from our fuels and fire management. And in addition to that, we'd really like to make sure that we're able to come up with some good best management practices moving forward. This is new territory for us in a way. So we really want to see to it that we're able to come up with practices moving forward, know how to implement in future projects, and be able to gather a lot of new understanding and gain a lot of new knowledge from this project, because we really do see ourselves as a leader in fire and fuels management, and we'd like to take all of our experiences and be able to bring those forward to our other cooperating agencies locally and region-wide. Okay, so this is a little bit more of the details regarding biochar itself. So not everybody does really know what biochar is, and really, simply, it is the lightweight black residue made of carbon and ashes remaining after the pyrolysis of biomass. The biomass that we're treating is primarily going to be eucalyptus from the thinning of the fuels. Some of the trees will still remain on site. Where we can, we will masticate or chip. We'll use all the available methodologies. But we can only leave so much on site. We have our own specifications as to how much material we leave on site. So a portion of it always has to get removed from site. The biochar will be primarily from eucalyptus, and really what it is it's kind of like charcoal. You see the picture there. That's actually biochar that's been added as a soil amendment to a planting mix in that picture there. So for the next one, it sequesters carbon. So it helps to perform as a carbon sink. So once that biochar has been created by use of a carbonator, low oxygen levels, there's no greater increase of CO2 being, put into the atmosphere through that burning. It's the pyrolysis is done in a very controlled manner. The carbon is now locked up in biochar, which we then can use as a soil amendment, add it to the soil profile where it has additional benefits to the environment. it also acts to enhance soil structures. So I like to think of soil structures as you have soil structures, textures, and the structure is actually the blockiness of soil, the sandiness of the soil. Based on its qualities, it's, very porous in nature, and it helps to, allow water to move, it more so actually locks up water and actually improves the water holding capacity of soils, which also in turn will help improve the soil structure, improving our wildlands, the ability of plants to actually take hold and nutrient value, lack of leaching of nutrients through the soil, as well as to help to provide a habitat for microbiome. So the little micro beneficial organisms that live in our soil that help to, improve our soil matrix. Okay, and the very last one, it increases water retention. I think one big point of it being able to increase water retention, whether we're able to use it in our treatment areas or we're using our treatment areas or in areas that we have irrigated landscapes, areas that we have sod or turf or, some of the golf courses. If we're able to utilize that in those areas, we would actually be able to decrease the amount of water consumption that we need ultimately. And we all know that's very important right now, is water is gold of sorts for us. So it really does. And it might actually be able to decrease the amount of stress that we're putting on the environment by having to water as much. Some of the other beneficial uses are in the agricultural world as a soil amendment. And also, they're using it for adding it to feed in some locations for cattle to actually help decrease the amount of emissions of methane gas. A lot of it's still being developed. It's a relatively new technology, or not. It's been around for a very long time, but it's relatively new to us. And that's where we believe that Falk Forestry and Earth Foundries will really be able to help us gain all the knowledge that we can possibly get to move forward. Okay, so in summary, EBRPD, the Regional Park District, is leading the way with an innovative approach in biomass processing with biochar. We see biochar as a potentially valuable tool in the fight against climate change. And at that, thank you very much for the ability to present. Questions?
Thank you, Director Lane.
Well, this is really interesting. So what you're saying is that you're going to, that our contractor will cut down eucalyptus trees, put them through a carbonator, and produce biochar, and will produce 600 tons of biochar? I mean, did I hear you say that?
Yes, you're definitely correct. The trees that are removed, not every single one of them will get put through the carbonator, but the best estimates that we have are in that range, given our inventory assessments and idea of how many trees we're going to be removed or will be removed in our thinning projects. Correct.
Okay, and so is biochar, what is biochar without, so you've got a little thank you here, right here?
Mhm.
Is this what biochar looks like when it comes out of the carbonator?
Yes. Mhm. Yep. Yeah. So those pictures you saw there, this one right here is a picture of biochar.
Okay,
And the picture prior that showed the soil showed biochar in a soil bag of soil. And so you could see the bigger chunks,
Mhm.
and that was the biochar within the soil.
Okay, so it's amended with something else.
Correct. And this particular project is just 80 acres. So we're calling it a pilot project because we are treating 80 acres of 580 acres, which is the entire RFP. This right here is, we're just requesting approval for the first 80 acres. And within that 80 acres, we are planning to process the biomass with the carbonator. Whereas in the past, the biomass portion of the project would have been chipped and dispersed on Park District property within so many inches, or the amount that cannot be lost within a project, that remaining amount would have been trucked to cogen facilities near Woodland, which is near Sacramento.
Okay, and so what you're anticipating doing with the biochar is amending it, and it would have nutrients to improve the soil in gardens, in grasslands? Is that what it would be able to do?
Yes, but what we're planning to do with the biochar is first have the biochar placed on landings and other areas that we normally would put our chips, and put a very thin layer of it. And then we're also funding the biochar utilization report. And we're hoping that that report will give us other opportunities that biochar can be utilized on Park District land. What we do know is that biochar can be used in some areas of our project. And we also know that biochar can be used within local farms and other agriculture uses. The part that we don't know that the biochar utilization study will reveal is other areas within the Park District that we may just not be aware of. And so this report will discover those areas that we're not currently aware of.
Okay, thank you.
Director Rosario?
Fascinating. I hope it happens. So the area and the map there, it looked like it's going to be right around the old gun range.
Yeah.
Do we have to do anything to mitigate for any disturbance of the ground there because of the lead exposure?
Yes. And so one of the things that we've been already working on with stewardship is mitigating that area. And so one of the first things we had to do was a site safety assessment, and that assessment put in different work safety practices prior to that area being able to be used for any type of work, or in particular for the use of the carbonator.
Regarding the biochar, you should really take a look at possibly Alameda County Waste Management's, they have a, they take a composting, their compost facility. I mean, I would think they would be able to use that a lot. So something else to look for getting rid of or moving that.
Yeah,
stuff
thank you.
around.
We'll look into that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Good report.
Director Waspy?
Thank you for the great report. I'm fascinated by all this. I got about an hour and a half's worth of questions, but I'll go later. So my first question is, when do you start, and how long does it take? I mean, 80 acres.
80 acres. So we will start, I think we estimated 3 months from now that we would start the work. And the duration of the project, was it six months? I think I'm going to go with 6 months, but based off my memory, because that sounds accurate. 6 months is a good estimate of how long that project's going to take. What I do know also is that the 500 acres that we're going to treat next, we're going to complete that within 2 years.
Fantastic. So, and then that poses a question, if you're going to go September to March, theoretically, this is kind of sloppy work. What happens if it does rain in California?
Yeah, no, that's great questions. What is it? What happens?
Oh, God.
Sorry.
Great question indeed.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's a rhetorical question. I hope you're taking that into consideration, because it's that's some sloppy land up there. And the roads will be really sloppy if for nothing else. And then I guess, don't answer it. That's okay. Just think about it. My next question would be, so by the photographs you show, the great ones with the big excavator, just putting all of the material that's already down into the carbonator, it looks like that's a portable operation. You're just kind of moving around to where the material is. But I'm kind of confused. is this going to be centered at the gun range and bring the material to the gun range and have the carbonator there? Or will this be bouncing around in this 80 acres?
So I will answer both your questions. The first question about what happens when it rains. There's also another part of that, which is during fire season, and we have certain restrictions. Pyrolysis will also be restricted. So when those challenges, we're faced with those challenges, we'll have to do our traditional methods of processing biomass, which is trucking to cogen facilities. For us, there is urgency to get this project ongoing as soon as possible so that we could take advantage of the summer months and avoid the winter months, because we know that the winter months are going to come with a different set of challenges. Your second question about the gun range, and the pictures of the carbonator and the excavator taking the biomass and putting it in the carbonator. The gun range site is going to be the base of where all the material will be dropped off. And then we have different areas allocated within the gun range where biomass will be processed. And so the gun range is basically going to be turned into a biomass processing site with a complete traffic plan, an ICS structure. The firm that we're looking to go with is set up well to run a good project.
All right. And then, so can you go back to that slide that showed the treatment area, the 80 acres?
Let me see if I can pull it up. It's not being shown now. So first, let me share the presentation again. Okay. There we go.
So I guess my question would be, being a resident of Castro Valley, with that whole southern ridge line browned out and the trees look really, really awful, and they look like a threat to my community. Was there I mean, I know there's a good reason. I just would like to know it so I can explain it to my constituents why we picked the center of the area, which looks like it may, what is that, Sheffield Village directly east of the pilot area? It doesn't look like there's a whole lot of homes there.
There's
flat? Is this area flat, the 80 acres, or is it?
No, there's good reasons, and it has to do with, there was a lot of thought that went into the units and how we would process the biomass. And there's different areas of Anthony Chabot, some less complex, some very complex. But there's a way to start the project so that you can enter with the less complex areas and make your way towards the more complex areas. And so the particular area that we targeted was targeted for a particular reason, and it had to do with the best way to handle a 580 acre project.
All right, thank you. And so where has Falk worked before? If nothing's been done in California on public lands, where have they worked before? Is there any way you can go look at one of their projects somewhere, or a person like me, or a civilian person? Just
I'm going to refer to Captain McIntyre on Falk's resume.
Yeah, so they're actually up in the Sonoma coast area, and they've done some other projects. I can't speak to exactly which ones but they have done some large scale eucalyptus projects. And, when we solicited these bids, we were really hoping to get some large scale, honestly, like licensed timber operator type firms. And, with them comes, Dan Falk, the owner, is a registered professional forester, which is very beneficial for a project of the scale. So they do have a large forested land, large forest up in the Napa or in the Sonoma coast that they work in routinely. And I'd be glad to follow up with you with some examples or some photos or anything like that from them of any projects that would be able to demonstrate their capabilities for you.
All right, thanks. And then and we talked about 600 tons of biochar will be produced by this 600 tons per 80 acres for the entire 1,200 acre project. Just the 600 for this. Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
great.
that's the estimate. And, a fair amount of it will be utilized to rehab skid trails, such as Kari mentioned, like the skid trails, some of the areas where, the forest practice, when we're in there doing work with equipment and at this scale, there's potential for, compaction. We don't want soil compaction. And that's going to be one of the efforts to help to mitigate that and actually, restore some of the areas. And one of the one of the areas that the biochar might be very, very useful is for some of the restoration projects that we're looking at in the future. If we're able to, for outstock, for, if we're, doing nursery stock to go in and reforest some of the areas that we might not, that we have identified for, oak plantings, that the biochar has been proven to actually be very helpful to be added as an amendment to the rootstock. So I hope that answered your question.
Sure, it's great. It's fascinating. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then additionally, there's a reason why we're awarding 80 acres and not 580 acres. There's a lot of unknowns with being the first ones to use the carbonator to process biomass. So for us, 80 acres was something that we knew we could be confident about the end use of it, as far as where we could use it on Park District property. And the areas that we can't use on Park District property, we knew that it could go to local farms and be utilized. But because there's lots of unknowns with being the first, when it comes to regulatory permitting, that will need to be established. When it comes to best management practices of utilization of biochar, we did not want to award the entire 580 acres when we knew that there was more information that needed to be ascertained.
Fantastic. And I'm looking on Amazon here. You can get 10 pounds of biochar from Amazon for $31.88. That sounds like we got to get in the business, I think. And once again, I'm fascinated by this project. I think it's going to be incredible. I hope you guys have hooked up with UC Berkeley or somebody to record this. Eric, I hope we have every single representative in Sacramento and DC to come out and watch this, because I think it'll be incredibly innovative, and I think it may solve a whole lot of problems down the road. And I look forward to it. I'm wondering, with that much biochar, does East Bay Mud, have they expressed any concern over runoff into their lakes?
No.
San Leandro and Lake Chabot?
No, but I love how you're thinking, because we thought the same thing and we had to work out those constraints. So when I mentioned best management practices and utilization of biochar and how this is a new territory, some of the things that we knew we needed to establish was to protect our streams and waterways. So we already have best BMPs for that when it comes to herbicide use and things like that. So we're able to utilize the same type of BMPs for biochar as we just work out currently what works and what does not work. This project, I'm glad you're excited, because I'm extremely excited. We are extremely excited because this is definitely a first, and other agencies are looking at us with the same excitement because it is a first, and they're looking to find out what is going to be the benefit, what is the Park District doing, and hopefully how does this benefit us also.
Well, thank you for your presentation. I really look forward to this.
Absolutely.
Okay, Director Corbett, then Wieskamp.
I just want to say, I could talk about this for hours, but I won't do that. But thank you so much. I just think that this is so impressive, such a change in the future and history and what to do in our lands. What we've done in the past to move and remove, types of plants that we needed to do something about. We've done it in certain ways or dumped it as if it was garbage. now you're looking at something where we can definitely use in a very positive way, the reuse of the land that is impacted because of, for whatever reason, whether there's a fire or what you're doing now to deal with some of the, the land, the plants, the trees that need to go away because of, just because of their dying and there's issues there. So thank you so much for looking so to the forward and really, teaching us about more important and good ways to do things with challenges that we have. It's so impressive, quite frankly. It's very impressive. And thank you for your work. Like I said, I could ask you a whole bunch of questions, say a whole lot of things, but so far it's just looking great. And you're going to be setting such an amazing example. We'll get to brag about it and improve our land. So thank you. And it's also interesting that I've really been charmed about in this presentation today is you're firefighters and you do firefighting, and this is part of that, right?
Absolutely.
But you're not actually also gardeners, yet you are, or environmentalists or whatever, because of what you're doing with the situation here. So thank you for being so, beyond and into the future for positive things you can do. Thank you. It's quite impressive.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll get to brag about you guys. You know what our firefighters do. Yeah, so thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Anne?
I never thought I would be excited about a word like biochar. Really, that it was going to be part of our vocabulary. But I can't think of anything more exciting, really, the opportunity here. I can see some farmers who think that this could be a product that could help their farmland and it wouldn't have to be trucked off to places that don't need it. I just think it's amazing. And I'm very proud of you for bringing it to us. I think you've been cautious, you've been careful. We're doing it incrementally, but I think it's going to be very impressive to a lot of people. So thank you so much for thinking innovatively, biochar. I'm going to keep saying it. Thanks.
Absolutely. And we'll make sure that the team who has been working hard on this, it gets the word that you appreciate their work.
Absolutely. It's a lot of work to do and to reach this point where you can recommend it to us. So good job.
Director Eccles?
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you very much for this excellent report. It's very, very exciting work. And really just want to thank you for your leadership in this area. We were the first, well, you all were the first to sound the alarm about the tree die-off here regionally, and then across, other people realized it was across the state. It's not just something we're impacting us here. And then to look at innovative ways to address this issue and leading the charge on that. And then in a way that is so thoughtful and environmentally sound, and it doesn't contribute to climate change. So all of those things, I mean, you really thought it through as firefighters and environmentalists, and I just really, really appreciate that. And I appreciate the leadership that you all are taking, and I know that others are watching, and I know that you'll make us prouder. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do we know of any detractors from this technology? In other words, are there any groups out there that aren't so excited about this?
No, I'm not saying that they're not out there. But we
Don't look for them.
Currently have not heard of detractors or I guess a counter group against the utilization of biochar.
Oh, yeah.
It's difficult to conceive of high temperature burning not producing a lot of CO2. But I understand that that's the trick to this technology. It can do that.
Yes, and at high temperature burning produces less CO2. I'm going to get into my fire training mode here, but when you see smoke, a way of looking at smoke is unburned fuel. So when you see smoke, just think of unburned fuel that's in the air. When fuel is burned at a high temperature, and at its highest temperature, you actually see no smoke.
Okay. What is the limitation on simply chipping and burying chips?
The limitation, there's one, we have a fuels prescription of how many layers of inches of chip that we can put on Park District property before we start to affect different ecosystems if we were to put additional layers of chip on Park District land. It would cause resource challenges with different species if we were to put additional layers of chips on district property. Our current prescription allows for 4 inches. And that's what we stick to based off the information that's given to us within our fuels resource management plan.
Yeah, excuse my ignorance again. We're talking about burying biochar in soil. Can you do that with chips?
We're not going to bury the biochar. What we plan to do is put biochar as an additional layer on top of the wood chips. So currently we're going to have 4 inches of wood chips on district property where our project area is. And what we're talking about is putting an additional layer of biochar on top of those wood chips in areas like landings and additional areas that the study should build bring forward.
Okay, understand. Thank you. Any further board comment? Do we have any requests for public comment?
No, President Coffey.
Okay, I'll look around for a hand. No hands up. Director Waspy, would you like to make a motion to approve the resolution on page 189?
Yes, thank you. I would move that we award a climate change impact hazardous wildlands fuels reduction project to Falk Forestry Group in the amount of $1,999,754.
Director Corbett seconds. Please call the roll.
Yes, President Lane, Director Lane,
Aye.
Director Wieskamp,
Aye.
Director Corbett,
Aye.
Director Eccles,
Aye.
Director Rosario,
Aye.
Director Waspy,
Aye.
President Coffey.
Aye. And we burned by the 3 o'clock attempt at a break.
I said 3:30, so we're
Do you want
actually,
to, we're almost done. Do you want to keep going?
I would appreciate a 5-minute break.
Okay, that's what I wanted to find out. We'll have a break for 5 minutes.
Well, that means it'll probably be 10, but I'll say 5.
All righty.
Anyway, it was worth it to hear all about biochar.
Thank you.
Thank you for your support and time.
Uh-huh.
No comment.
meeting is getting ready to start, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody listens.
Come on. No cookies if you don't get back in your chair.
You know, if I were a judge, they'd pay attention to this.
That's because you're not hitting that gavel hard enough.
There you go. Maybe in the right place.
All right, let's resume the meeting. What is next on the agenda?
Are we streaming again, Sarah?
Yes, it's streaming.
All right, we're live. We go to general manager's comments. General manager came by and said she didn't have any comments. Deputy general manager, anything?
Thank you, Director Coffey, Dr. Ana Alvarez, Deputy General Manager. Just a reminder that we are hosting this special meeting of the Board of Directors to hold a study session this Thursday, June the 23rd at 12:30 p.m. So we hope to see you in person, or if you can join us remotely, that would be great.
Thank you, Anna. Announcements from closed session, council?
Thank you, President Coffey. We have no announcements from closed session.
All right, then we will close out the meeting with board comments. I'd ask Director Eccles to go first, then Lane, then Rosario, and Wieskamp. Waspy and I will go last. Oh, you see, you're not up here. I'll call on you after you go. We will go after Rosario.
Great. Thank you very much, President Coffey. Yeah, so I will be short and sweet. So I have continued to be engaged in a number of conversations about the future of Point Malate with various stakeholders. I have taken advantage of this lovely weather. Well, now it's a little warm, but in general, the lovely weather to be out and about and hiking around Jewel Lake and Lake Anza and some other local parks. And then finally, really enjoyed the opportunity to celebrate and commemorate Juneteenth yesterday afternoon at, yeah, it was yesterday. Was it yesterday? No, Sunday, gosh. Sunday in downtown Berkeley. So that's it for me. Thank you very much.
Director Lane.
Thank you. Somebody stopped my video. All right, so since our last meeting, I've gone to the
We'll fix your video.
right. That's okay. Okay. No one needs to see me. I've gone to the East Bay Leadership Council meeting, which was quite an interesting one as they started to look forward to the rest of this year and the following year. They are having some interesting speakers, and the executive director for the Leadership Council is competing for the clerk recorder in Contra Costa and may well be leaving the group because of that. And the chair-elect is Leo Scott, who has been a person who's been one of our consultants on some of our transportation projects with Bill Gray and others. Then I went to the Natural and Cultural Resources Committee, the Executive Committee, and they did report at Executive that we are 98% vaccinated in our workforce, which I think is a very positive thing for us and for the public that likes to talk to us. I went to the new naming of the Crown Beach Visitor Center event with Doug Seiden and his family, which was quite an enjoyable thing. I had a Zoom conversation about the future of Burrell Park. did pre-board yesterday and had an interview with Dan Keen with regard to our eventual evaluation for our district council. So I want to thank staff for bringing the VACCON truck to the ceremony truck time. Always a fascinating vehicle, I will say. And people love it, particularly 6-year-old boys. And also want to thank the trail group for our trail staff for improving a mile of Contra Costa Canal Trail. And thank you for the Juneteenth pin. I wore it on Juneteenth and I'll wear it soon again. And am looking forward to our board study session, which is scheduled for Thursday. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to Director Rosario, then Director Corbett, and then Director Wiesking. She what?
Oh, you did.
She was short and sweet.
Wait for them to ask me.
I missed the whole event. Thank you. So on 6/8, I attended the Alameda County Mayor's Conference. And one of the things I took out of there was that there are several bills to address catalytic converter thefts. There's 3 separate bills, AB 1740, AB 2407, and SB 1087. And so things are happening in the legislature to address. I don't know what they can do about them, but we'll find out. And then also in that at the conference, there was a presentation by Baykeeper, and their worst case scenario for sea level rise in the Bay Area is like 3.5 feet. So get your waders on. And then on the 9th, I attended Lake Merritt Breakfast Club meeting where we heard that the neighborhood core has been it's a neighborhood volunteer effort to be prepared for disasters. They've redone it and it looks like a great project. I'm gonna have to redo my training. And then I attended on 6/10, I attended the executive committee meeting. And I just wanted to add to that meeting that there was a COVID-19 update. I just wanted to thank all the employees from top to bottom for their participation. We have 98% participation and in the vaccination, and I think the efforts done by everyone to not only participate and enforce, but has kept the majority of our workforce safe. So I wanted to thank everybody for that. And then on the 11th, I attended the Doug Seiden event where we dedicated the Doug Seiden Visitor Center at Crab Cove. And what a great event, and for a great man, and for it was just perfect. And just to hear his grandkids saying, I didn't know Grandpa was had responsible for all these parks that I'm going to. And I'm just so happy that we did that for him. And then and on 6/12, I attended the Wilder Homeowners Association Safety Fair. I just wanted to give a big shout out to all the volunteers from public safety that were there. They staffed a booth, and then I got to see our new helicopter up close. What a piece of equipment we got there. I'm really looking forward to our new pilots. And I appreciate all the effort that was there. Everyone enjoyed that event. And on the 13th, I attended a meeting for the Oakland Commission on Aging with Councilmember Dan Kalb. And we have another meeting coming up soon. And then on the 14th, I attended Operations Committee meeting. And well done. Congratulations to Jim O'Connor and the staff there and public safety for their great presentations on the e-bricks and the communication sites. And then on the 16th, I met with Chief Allison Cook and DGM Anna Alvarez. We talked about JEDI. And then On the 16th, I met with a couple of constituents who are proposing an ultra marathon. And I said, good luck. There's a lot of challenges, and I don't know if it could happen or not, but it's out of my hands. So that's it. And we're here today. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Corbett.
Thank you very much. I won't present all of the items, but just a few important dates that have happened since we last were with each other. Obviously, Election Day was the last day we had our meeting. So it's so nice that we got to see that people were getting involved with that process. And let's hope that it all leads to a positive process. So happy Election Day. On the 8th, or not exactly on the 8th, I also, one other thing, it's not really a park thing, but so great to watch the Warriors win this year. Some great games. So thank you to the Warriors. And one of the reasons why I like to bring up the Warriors is when you visit our parks, often you see members of the Warriors who are taking hikes.
That's right.
So it's so nice that they appreciate the parks as well. Maybe someday we'll have to have an event for them at one of our parks. So that would be great. Yeah, we should do that, huh? Then June 11th, of course, it's already been mentioned. It was the celebration for Doug Sidon, naming the visitors building right there to give us an opportunity just to talk about all the amazing things he was involved in while he was on the board and things he did before he was on the board and after being on the board. He's an amazing person who's done so much for the community. And it was so nice to meet his family as well and thank him for his amazing work. And it's just so nice to see him and give him credit for some of the amazing good work that he's done that we can all learn from him on. And then on the 13th, there was an operations committee meeting. Thank you very much. On the 15th, I attended a meeting of the Eden area dinner, a spaghetti feed. So got a chance to talk to so many people around the community about what's going on with them and their impression of what the East Bay Parks do as well. And then let's see. And on the 19th, happy celebration to everybody on Juneteenth. It was a great day and a lot of people celebrating Juneteenth throughout our parks. So that's another very nice thing to take some credit on. All right, thank you very much. That's what I have for today.
Thank you, Director Wieskamp.
And I've got to take an extra minute because I had to leave early to a past meeting. So I'm starting in May on the 2nd, the GM evaluation, the 6th.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the 6th, the Point Bellotti tour, the 10th, operations, 17th, board meeting, 25th, finance and an update. And then the 28th, I took the opportunity to thank former, now retired General Manager Mark Roberts for his help in moving forward the idea of Livermore's land at Doolin Canyon being a potential staging area for our park. On June 2nd, the board meeting, the 9th, the Fremont liaison, and the 14th, operations. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Waspy.
Thank you. On June 8th, I attended the HASMA committee meeting and where we welcomed 2 new members, Oklahoma Sanitary District and the Alameda County Mosquito Abatement District. We also extended the JPA for another 6-month period and talked about some great stuff on the shoreline. On June 9th, I attended the Fremont Liaison Committee meeting. On June 11th, I had a great time at the Sandcastle competition at Crown Beach. Great event, amazing, talented people doing great work out there. And it was a beautiful day. God, there were 1 million people out there. It was just really enjoying the park. It was great. I also attended the Doug Sidon event, of course. It was beautiful. Everything was great about it. It was getting people together again, getting public affairs, doing all the great stuff public affairs does. congratulations, Ellen. You did a great job as the MC. And it was just a wonderful event all around. On June 14th, I attended the East Bay Regional Park District retirees meeting. Great old retirees hanging around, telling great stories about the park. They're very, very involved in the Park District, and they're always up on what's going on. On June 16th, I attended the East Bay Economic Development Alliance block party that they held at the Bridgeyard building. Our Bridgeyard building was really great. It was an outdoor block party, lots of fun, lots of people, windy as heck, but it was a great venue. People didn't spend too much time outside. They went inside the building and were amazed by it, and great event. On the 16th, I met with Christina Kelcher, Brian Holt, and Eric Fuller, where we talked about some opportunities in the Union City and Fremont Hills areas. And that's it, although I would direct your attention to page 198 of our articles. I always appreciate our articles. And this article specifically deals with the Biden administration's announcement that the federal government will phase out the sale and distribution of single-use plastic items in all public lands, including national parks, recreation areas, and monuments. And I hope we can join with the National Park Service at some point. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. On June 8, I attended the Natural and Cultural Resources Committee. On June 9th, with Eric Feeler, I met at his office with Assembly Member Tim Grayson regarding the John Marsh State Park push of the state to open that park. And Assemblyman Grayson was very supportive, fully supportive, and will join in that effort. On the 9th, I had a meeting with the general manager preparing for the executive committee meeting and attended that committee meeting on the 10th. On the 11th, I also attended the Sidon Visitor Center dedication. On the 14th, I listened in on the Board Operations Committee from YouTube Land, Director Corbett, a productive meeting. On the 16th, I attended the League of Conservation, East Bay League of Conservation Voters annual event. This year it was in Richmond. On the 17th, I had the general manager's pre-board meeting check-in to plan for this meeting this afternoon. On the 18th, there was a public hike led by naturalist Ashley Adams at Thurgood Marshall Regional Park. And we had one of our constituents talk about that wonderful hike earlier in the meeting. And it was indeed very well done by Ashley with the Juneteenth the theme to the whole hike. We got to see some new areas of the south of Bailey Road areas going up the hill from the spot that we've been to before. On the 17th, I attended a second hike at Harvey Ranch, sponsored by the John Muir Land Trust. On the 20th, I had a conference with Peter Liu, the chair of the board of the Regional Parks Foundation. On the 19th, this past Sunday, to cover Juneteenth, Mila and I did an all-day tabling out at the Brentwood City Park with the East Contra Costa celebration of Juneteenth. It was a very wonderful day to spend with a lot of folks out in East County. And that about does it for me. I'm pleased to mention that on election night, Measure F in Contra Costa in Martinez Measure F was losing, missing a 2/3 vote by about 50 votes. In the interim, with the new calculations of new ballots that have come in, it is now succeeding in getting more than 2/3 vote by about 50 or 60 votes. So we're all just crossing our fingers and hoping that Martinez measure passes and that the Alhambra Highlands are saved. And lastly, I see Jonathan Lee is in the Zoom meeting, And I just wanted to mention, if I missed you earlier, Jonathan, we acknowledged the Contra Costa Bars Task Force letter, how well done it was on the exoneration issue, and it will become part of the record we share with Congressman DeSaulnier. So I'll look once more around the room, physically and on the Zoom room. And if there's nothing further, we'll call the meeting